7:30. Guess we don't have any minutes to work with tonight.
Almost, but not quite.
Okay. Administrative discussion, new owner of 8 Field Lane. Yep.
Dave Brochu.
Come on up, Dave.
Come up.
Welcome. How are you?
Good.
Good. Do you want to say hi and give them the...
There's the plan.
Can I see? Sure.
So can you show us the lot you're
Yeah,
on?
it's 8 Field Lane, lot 16.
Lot 16. So when you, prior to purchasing and then purchasing, are you aware of order of conditions or Wetlands Protection Act or things like that in terms of?
Yeah, I was made aware of that, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, I don't think I ever got a copy of your acknowledgement.
We signed something at the sale, but I can get you another copy if you need one.
Would you mind just redoing one right now?
Sure, no problem.
How's that? And I'll even give you another copy of the order of conditions, just so we can get the paperwork done.
Yep.
Rather than trying to make them dig it out, which they're gonna take forever to do.
Okay, maybe while you're filling that out, I'll just talk about your lot in particular. You're both within, well, your lot is within the 50-foot, not your house, but your lot is within 50-foot and 100-foot. And what we mean by that is that we have both a state and a local regulation regarding wetlands, and the blue line on the map is the wetland line itself. And under the state regs, the wetlands are supposed to be protected within 50 feet, and the 50 feet of terrestrial or upland beyond the wetland is called our jurisdiction, our commission's jurisdiction. So we look at activities within the 100-foot zone, and our local regs restrict any disturbance within 50 feet of the wetland. So, and it looks like you've got vegetation, trees, I assume? Do you have trees or
Yeah,
some
there's
sort
some
of
trees along
vegetation?
that.
All within the 50, and your house is between the 50 and the 100. So since you are within the 100-foot of a significant portion of your backyard, or all of your backyard and some of your front yard, we would have jurisdiction over activities that may impact the wetland within that area. So that may include tree cutting, any disturbance within the 50-foot, and actually within the 100-foot, within the 50 and the 100, any tree cutting is there as well, or any excavation. There are some minor activities that are excluded from, and that's according to the state. The minor activities listed under the state law also apply under our law.
Okay. What about, we're actually looking into irrigation. Does that need to be approved by you?
If it's excavated, and is it?
Yeah.
Or is it a
Well,
minor?
I mean, you have to ditch witch it to get it in, so, but it's not.
Is it excluded like?
Small trench.
Something like that isn't specifically
Okay.
excluded, although I would consider it kind of landscaping, so we haven't had that question before, I don't think.
You'd
So
wanna
it's
put-
up to you guys.
You'd want to put it on a plan so that it's, you have something built in, so then the next person, of concern would be grass clippings. So you need to make sure that nothing, the grass clippings are moved away from the wetlands. So it's not dumped in that 50-foot buffer as well.
That's why, because they put up a sign,
Yeah, they put it up last week.
the no mowing, no dumping. And that sign is not exactly where it's shown on the plan. So if you're gonna use that to measure for a shed, don't rely on it.
Yeah, we're gonna
It's
not
slightly
go with the
different.
shed,
Yeah,
just because it
okay.
would be,
Yeah.
yeah, it's on the right side.
Yeah, but I think it's, it might actually be up a little further. So that's not a known point anymore
Okay.
compared to the sign. I asked them we'll get an as-built
Okay.
on that eventually, but.
Now, in this case too, doesn't our order of conditions for the site include the application of fertilizer and pesticides?
Yeah, it's pretty much the
that-
last condition on there.
Okay, so we recommend or require organic fertilizers, which are more long leaching, like they don't immediately discharge their nutrients, so it's better for the wetlands when you have the longer term fertilizers and organic pesticides.
Okay.
Well, you don't want algae in your backyard anyways, it'd be really gross. You'll know if,
Yeah.
just even from a practical standpoint, let's say you didn't care about the wetlands at all, you'd get algae,
Okay.
which is really gross if you have too much fertilizer
Sure.
and yard waste.
Cool.
Any questions?
I think one of the conditions was maintenance of the signage.
Mhm.
That is up against the wooded area. If that becomes overgrown, should I contact the commission for cutting back, or how does that work?
Is the signage on, it's probably on the line, right? So I think.
I think the signage is, can I see the order conditions for a second?
Sure.
I thought it was actually the HOA.
Right, I don't think it's
That-
your,
that
I
had to
don't
do
think
it,
it's
it's
your
not necessarily
responsibility,
yours.
but
Um,
we appreciate it.
And I think they tried to put it so it's not like right in your face. I think that's why
Exactly.
it moved a little bit.
Yeah.
So it's, yeah.
So it's not the signage along the 50? It's something else?
No, it is that signage. Yeah, the homeowners association shall have extra signs. It's, if you look at C23 is the condition, and then the P2 is the in perpetuity, but it refers,
Okay.
it should refer to the
HOA.
homeowners association.
Okay, great.
So theoretically, maybe once a year, I'd walk the line and just see what's going on, and then I'd contact the HOA if there's any issues.
Okay, great.
So he's not responsible for clearing, to making that sign visible?
No, it'd be the homeowners association.
Oh, okay.
Although I guess if it gets overgrown,
Right.
as long as it's still there.
Cool. We appreciate you coming in.
Great, thank you.
Enjoy. Thank you.
Library project? You want to speak to that?
Oh. Big board. Mark Rambacher, I'm the library I'm one of the library trustees, and we're trying to build the library back on this slope site. So Amy asked me to come and talk a little bit about what we're doing. I don't know what any of the requirements you guys would have on the project versus what we are currently, when we went through the planning grant. So at this stage, what we're doing, we're in finalizing the design of the building. I mean, the interior of the building, basically, will be set in the next week or so. They haven't done any more work on the site. The plans have slightly changed for the building dimensions from what we put in the grant.
So is
It's-
this most current?
This is what the building will look like from the,
So this is what you're applying for?
we already have the, so we already have the.
Conservation.
Yes.
Ultimately.
Sure.
Well, is that an existing road? Or?
This road is, yes. So this is a walkway.
As long as I can remember.
This is a access road that goes back, that's for
Yeah.
maintenance of the ball field.
Yeah, I'm familiar with
The
that
only
road.
improvement we will be doing to that road is whatever would be required by the fire department. This is the existing, this is mainly a grass path now here that comes down. We'll be making more of a parking lot there. This road is basically whatever, it's the emergency access for the fire department. It's the only
Why would
improvements
this
we would
waiver
make.
trigger that has to be done,
What?
maintenance of that road?
So you need a secondary fire access.
Yeah, it's a fire access
For the building or for just for the ball field?
for the building. It's, so we had no
But why
plans.
can't they
to-
find
So
it from
the
the
only, so this is the existing road that the highway department uses to get to the, mow the ball field, basically.
Why do you need to build out, like, I understand the fire department is requiring you to, did they say why? Because, I mean, it's pretty wide.
I think it's the secondary access to the building is the,
Okay.
It also might
There's
have
no
some,
parking.
it might have some overarching clearance issues too. Maybe they have no issues, but
I don't know exactly what
can't-
the
it just
requirements are from the
seems
fire
like-
department point of view.
Yeah,
it's kind of a little
it
bit.
seems
So-
like there's a lot of
Obviously, I don't
access
care
from
about
So
the,
if they don't require us
From
to
the
do anything
parking lot.
on the road, we
Yeah.
won't be doing anything on the road.
Okay.
It's
Because that's going to be.
That'd be the tricky part for
laborious
us.
In terms of
Yep.
filing.
Yep.
There'll be a lot of discovery
So,
asked for that, so that would be
I see
great if we
the-
could clarify that.
Is there that green patch that goes into the 50-foot?
Yep.
What is that?
I don't know. I
Is
think,
that a detention area, or is that?
I don't think that we've, I don't
I think
think,
it's just trees.
I think it's just trees. I
It's
don't think there's
really
anything
wooded
we're
in
doing.
there.
Just,
The trees
Well-
are.
Yeah, just.
No, like not a wetland.
It's not, this down here, there's no improvements that we've made that I'm aware of.
Okay, so that's not a
Right.
constructed area, it's just
No,
as is?
yeah.
So
Um,
where's the limit of work, do you think?
Well, hopefully it's as close to the building as we can keep it. I don't know. They haven't scoped all of that out yet. We're, like I said, they're basically working on the interior design, and I can get the architect and his engineers to come back at some time in the future, but I was going to figure out what questions you have for them now, so that we can,
Right. We
Yeah.
appreciate that, yeah. Roof drainage, yes, because it's a big building, we'll want to know where where all the water's going to go, for sure.
So they were talking about that a bit at the last meeting. They assumed that they'd have to put some drainage, underground drainage up.
So if
Like
it's
filtration.
within 100 feet of the wetlands, it really needs to be on the plan, and
Okay. The exterior of the building is still under development, so,
Can you explain that tan path that's going around with the little
this path?
black dot? Yeah. this path. Is that a fence?
No, it's a walkway. It's basically a handicap access to the back of the building. So there's stairs going down here, but it's too steep for handicap. So this is a handicap path down.
How about, can't they enter the front?
They can,
Oh.
yes. It's just it's an emergency and backup.
Oh, I see.
One of the things we look at is tree removal within the 100-foot buffer and looking at replacing native species. And then also, I think there's a bunch of knotweed,
Yeah,
which
there's
is
a ton of
invasive.
ton of knotweed up in here.
Yeah. So the handling of invasive species would be something that we would want to know about. And it's something that we require in our orders of conditions pretty much all the time.
Okay.
it's very helpful on, even when these are drafts, to have grade lines as well.
Um,
Type of topo or grade lines on there.
Yeah, I've been asking for, so the way this line, right around in here,
Mm-hmm.
is where the building hits grade.
Okay.
So this patio back here and whatnot will be raised. I don't know the exact amount. On the plans, it's probably like 8 feet. 8 feet drop across there. But I don't know that they've done that. They're not at that level of development of but,
Because that's important to us, because that work is going to be within the 50 to 75, or 50 to 60 perhaps.
so
So
on
your
this site though,
erosion-
as you go to where those two paths intersect, that whole side seems to be the disturbed area full of gravel and knotweed and not having any environmental benefits. It seems like during the planning phase, it would be really interesting to see what we could do to attack an area that's full of invasives, that's impervious, that's got all sorts of issues, while retaining the giant forest that's, rapidly disappearing all throughout Littleton. Why does the building have to come into the forest and leave the knotweed, is kind of the question.
Or change the knotweed area to forest, nice forest.
Just, yeah.
I mean, why can't we shift the whole building this way?
Correct.
Is that where you're at? I think the concern was how we hit these
Actually,
lines.
you're moving closer on the
That's
wetlands.
slope.
We should, if you slide it that way.
Yeah.
Also, is the wetland line actually delineated, or do you have to have that done too?
Who marked it out?
Well, I didn't mark it out. Amy, I think went out there, was it 2 years ago?
It was a while ago, there's still some flag stubs out there. It's right at the toe slope of that rear
Does it need
pathway.
to be redone? How long ago was it?
I don't think it was ever surveyed.
I do not know if the wetlands were surveyed. I know
Yeah,
the-
so they need to be surveyed.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
that's what they-
I don't, the flag numbers aren't there anymore,
Mhm.
so.
If that's an area of interest and work.
Right.
So when they're surveying, we're not just looking, we're looking at the larger parcel, as Matt had discussed. So when they're surveying, you want to look down off locus, where you are.
Yeah, so I'm also not exactly sure where the boundaries of the lot we're on, because it was carved out at town meeting from the bigger parcel.
Oh, I remember
So
that.
I don't know exactly where the limits of our lot are versus the rest of
Hopefully
the
you
town.
can find out for us.
Yeah. I know we were carved out at about 3 acres, but I don't know exactly. I think it might go all the way over, but I'm not entirely positive.
All the more important that it gets surveyed, for sure.
I know the lot was surveyed, but I don't know if the wetlands were surveyed.
Okay.
Um,
Do you know who surveyed that?
I do not remember. It was done as part of the grant. We did it as part of the grant application, so
Okay.
I can.
It's very helpful to have the same company do that, because they can just overlay that.
Yeah, you'll save yourself time and money.
It's a lot of money.
They already have. And then just thinking about the slope erosion controls. So you're basically going to be doing construction on a slope. So construction sequencing and erosion controls will be important, and we need to see it, on the map where proposed erosion controls would be. And sometimes a stumbling block is having enough space to work between your erosion control and, for example, it's not generally realistic to put it, a couple feet from the edge of the building, because you leave yourself no space to work.
Right.
So those are just considerations.
Access, how we're gonna
Yep.
get in there.
It's very steep.
It is very steep.
It is steep.
How do you think they're gonna access the site?
I think they're planning on doing most stuff from the front of the building, but I don't really know. I don't know.
Okay.
They're still.
So that's
They're working
that's
on it.
important for
Yeah.
us to know. Okay.
Yep.
And if you're gonna excavate, it seems like more, either the more go up. I saw those plans and you're gonna increase the levels of the building as you go down, so.
So
you
so
want
if
to
you
excavate that much?
if you walk, the upper floor of the building will be level with the parking lot. So, basically they have to excavate, down, take the slope out and take the triangle and flip it over, basically. is what
Cut
they
and
do.
fill.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So,
Okay, so we have to know where you're gonna stockpile any soil, if any, and where the soil is going, to know those.
I don't know when they will. I don't know when they will know a lot of those questions, answers to
Mhm.
those questions. I mean, they're going to start doing more of, in the design development part of the project, so they're going to have to start doing more of that type of work. But the construction is probably still, at the earliest would start next spring, my guess is, so. Unless the winter's really mild.
I would talk to your engineers, should know too about lead times for wetlands permits, because it's, it can be lead times, and then I'm guessing it may be more than one meeting, so you may need to build a few months in there to secure your permit.
I think the path that you're going down is helpful to have
Mm.
discussion. I would very much encourage you to come back at kind of each step, because you don't want to go too far and
Right.
then realize that the wetlands have been not taken into account. So, because you will have to have a permit from this board. Great.
I make one last sales pitch to save or minimize the impact on the wetlands and the forests. You just, as you come back, you seem to have more and more impervious. Was there consideration to bringing the building away from the wetlands? Utilizing that parking area there?
Not really, because we were trying to not have to cut into the slope any more than we, I don't think you get away with less parking on the site already. There's already a problem with parking up there. And also, I'd be worried about what you're going to get into the more you dig under that parking lot. Right.
Well, it's definitely not wetland or forest or limited
No.
environmental resources.
No, it's going to be old oil tanks and tires and everything else.
The opportunity
So
to
they
fix
could
things that are wrong.
seep
So,
out into that
We've been
area.
told not to go this way and not to go that way for fear of what we will hit. So,
It's just a shame. It feels like that yeah.
Was it an old dump?
No, it was a gravel bank originally. Seriously, the town used to go, take gravel out of the back down. That's what the roadway around back was for.
Okay, well, we wish you good luck. Keep us informed.
okay.
If
Thank
the
you.
architect or
Keep us in
engineer has
mind.
any questions, they can call me anytime too, as we
Okay.
get further
They're-
down the road.
Yeah,
but-
they're just, like I said, they're
We do.
just getting started, so. Thank you.
Thanks for coming in.
Thanks, Mark.
I guess we got one more, the Little Free Library at Oakville, Harbor Road.
Hello.
Good evening.
Library to another.
I know exactly, from the big to the small.
My name is Gabrielle Edenwild, in case you don't know me. And I just wanted to come in, and I'm still not 100% sure what everything you guys want, but I went down a rabbit hole for designs and then decided that, okay, simpler is better, and went with the kits that they have. But there's two options that I thought were going to be best, and I wanted to see if that was something that would. Oh, let me get the brightness up. I'm so sorry. I didn't want to waste paper to print these out, so that's the
fine.
first one. It's just a cute little.
Plexiglass in the front.
It is plexiglass. And then my idea was to mount it 15 feet to the right of the little kiosk thing on a post that is accessible.
What are the dimensions of that?
Oh, sorry. This one is 21 inches wide, by 18 inches tall, by 17 inches deep. So it's
Oh,
just
it's teeny.
It is teeny. It's a little free
It's
library. And then there's this one, which is oddly enough slightly smaller, but this one is made out of. This one isn't nearly as neutral in terms of color, but it's still kind of muted. This one is made out of recycled eco lumber made out of old milk jugs instead of wood, so it would be impervious to weather and last longer. So I wanted to know when, like, if this was something that the commission would be willing to move forward on. I can have these ordered. And any other questions? Again, no cost to the town. This is a donation from my husband and myself to the town to get this going.
Who is going to moderate?
That would be me as the steward of the library. And I know there was a question last time about the possibility of like trying to target the kinds of books available. I can only do so much as a steward. I can try and make sure there's books for all ages, make sure there's no like, someone's not stuffing pamphlets and brochures and stuff in there. But it is a library, so it's multiple subjects and things like that as needed and wanted by the community, so.
I may have missed, but what's the first one made out of?
Just wood, just
Just
pine,
wood.
pine and, so it is pine and cedar, pine, plywood, and then there's a metal roof. The roof itself is metal, and the other one is a little bit of plastic. I'm personally partial to the little green one, but that's just me. I just wanted to offer the eco version as well.
I think the green one certainly fits better with
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
landscape and the signage that we currently have.
Agreed?
I support it.
Is it gonna be
Yeah.
on a stand?
Yes, they offer a little post. They're basically 4x4 cedar posts and then a little platform on it, and it's screwed into and augered down and secured. And again, it would be at a height that is accessible to both folk using wheelchairs and little kids. That's kind of the point. So.
And we can
No, that would seem like it would be like, I would be near, but it seemed like blocking access would be, not useful.
Yeah, you said,
Yeah.
what, 15 feet to
Yeah.
the right of the kiosk, because the kiosk, if I remember, it is right at the.
Exactly.
So it'll
Yeah.
be out of
So
it.
it's a- and I want to make it clear that that it's, part of the parking lot area, but not part of the city thing.
Yeah.
Does that make sense too? It's
Yeah.
like I was figuring just a little bit of a separation there.
I like the green one.
Yep.
Anybody want to make a motion to approve?
We'll make a motion to approve the design of the little free library at Oak Hill. So stated with a post and platform.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We look forward to seeing a picture when it's installed.
Oh, thank you.
And I do, but that's not going to be plowed in the wintertime.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I expect that
Yeah.
it's not, I will.
Shut it down for a while.
Yeah, shut it down for the winter.
Cool.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
So let me know when you're ready, and we can go out there and make sure we know where the post is going to be and all that stuff, but we can
Okay.
just.
Thank you,
Perfect,
thank you.
thanks.
I'd like to continue discussion enforcement order 17 Mile Lane. Is somebody here to speak to that?
No, he could not make it, but they have gone a long way into getting there. The owners, as of last Friday, he said they did about 75% of the restoration effort. The piles of wood chips were removed along the driveway. The landscaping debris on the other side of the drive was removed, the shared driveway was removed. The treehouse was removed. Some sections of stones were removed along the brook, and most of the wood chips were removed from the area between the driveway and the brook. They still need to do a little more stabilization and planting, basically. So they're moving along pretty quickly. So they expect to be done, I said, could we have another update and finish by the 13th? And he said they expect to have it done next week. And then he'll give me a call and go out and inspect, and they'll be here on the 17th.
Okay.
That's their update.
Right.
Okay. I guess we still go back to, how about Cloverdale
Is it
benches?
8? No, it's not 8.
That was to let you know, I guess somebody donated a couple benches to Cloverdale, so there's 2
Oh.
sitting out there.
Oh, wow.
So
Cool.
you may not be hearing about it.
You mean they're actually sitting on the property?
Yes, they are.
Oh.
On dirt or on a pad?
No, they're just on dirt at this point, and movables. I think
Slowly
one,
sinking.
I'm not sure where the other one is. I'm assuming the one that's kind of on the tree line might be relocated once the parking lot is in, and if there's a picnic table or something, but it's, well, they're black, so they're kind of hard to see. so.
Are they metal?
Yeah. I guess somebody had a couple extra.
5 Chestnut Lane, request for certificate of compliance, 204-722.
Yeah, a lot of the stuff was on there just in case something happened, but nothing happened, so they're not ready.
What about the fishing rod?
Same thing.
Oh.
Nothing happened.
X.
I guess one thing is payroll interesting.
Yes, it's that time of year again. For the payroll, so you can nominate 2 people to do let's see, members must vote to designate the number of signatures and/or specific members required to sign off on the department payroll timesheets. This is only required if the committee is seeking less than a majority to authorize payments, which I assume you don't want to have to vote every time.
That seems excessive.
So it's just written right now
Jim.
that the commission's bills will be signed by either one of 2 designated commissioners for a period of 1 fiscal year.
Perfect.
I don't see any reason to change that.
I've been doing it. I'm willing to keep doing it. If-
Thank you.
I know, you're so far away, you never get to sign anything.
I know.
I could do it because I already signed those other things.
Thank you.
Well, that's what this is, it's a renewal of that.
Oh, but it wasn't
Being
payroll I was signing,
reappointed.
it was,
Oh, it's payroll and expenses, it's the whole
Oh,
thing.
and
Yeah, sorry,
expenses. Oh.
sorry. So does anybody want to make a motion to that effect?
Make a motion to nominate Andrew and Anna to sign payroll and expenses and anything else?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Guess we can move along to the next continued discussion, enforcement order 86 Colonial Drive, U32-101-0, Mass DEP file number 204-665.
You get to sign that. Everybody gets to sign it, not just you.
Hello again.
Good evening, I'm Stephen Erickson from North Environmental. Liz with me is Helen Schill, the owner of the property.
I can pass it down.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Property, when the work was being done, apparently some of the wetland was altered. What we did was, I had flagged it in February of last year. It was previously flagged by another firm. I don't know when they did it, but there were some differences in that, but the obvious difference was this large area right beside the retaining wall. So we are obligated to restore that, to recreate the wetland. I've got nowhere to really replicate the wetland on site except where the wetland was. So what we're proposing to do is restore it rather than reinventing the wheel and trying to find somewhere else to replicate. So this is essentially what we're looking to do. There is a problem with water and runoff coming down Colonial Drive, and we're talking to the Highway Department and the Board of Health to deal with that. Apparently, there's an old well across the street that was never decommissioned, and
It's artesian.
water's coming out. So that's a Board of Health issue. The water on the street is actually the Highway Department issue. So we can't really do a lot right now without talking to them. So I expect we'll be coming back at some point in time, unless we can figure out how to just get rid of the water. If we can get rid of the water, that would be the best of both worlds.
The drainage, so drainage coming down the street and then heading into a wetland from a highway department standpoint, that's kind of an MS4 stormwater. So they may need to address that as part of that.
We're not sure yet. They haven't gotten back to us
Yeah.
on it.
Okay. I mean, you may just ask them, is this part of MS4? Or are you considering this area as part of the MS4? Because it's staged. I mean, they're like just getting into it, but maybe with a
Do you
question.
think that our office should send them a request for a comment?
We could. I don't know.
I've been circling around with Chris Stoddard and Jim McGriffey on the whole thing. I mean, there is that weird well or sump pump or whatever it is that's discharging, which.
So that's
I don't
not
know if
stormwater,
it's-
that's groundwater.
It's a very old structure, so whether or not the runoff is new and it's just become an issue because there's not a wetland there anymore for it to run
Right.
into. But there is right at the culvert that goes under the road, it's eroding. It's created a
Yeah.
cut in there.
Yeah.
So, I wasn't sure if this needed to wait for a highway to do what they're gonna do, which could take a year.
Many years.
Or if this should just,
Well, we hope they don't take many years, but we obviously can't do work on the highway, and we can't do work on the neighbor's property where the well is located.
Right.
So our hands are tied until they figure out what they are gonna do.
But the wetland does need input.
The wetland does need replication to comply with 310 CMR 10.55.
Does that wetland need that?
But I mean, it needs water input.
That's what I'm.
But it doesn't necessarily need stormwater from the road.
Well, I don't know what's feeding it.
there's a
Just-
stream right on the
Just
end.
the
Yeah,
water that's going under the road and there.
Water coming under the road and groundwater,
right, groundwater
because
is
we're
high.
at the groundwater here.
Yeah,
Okay.
so it
Yeah,
this
intersects
is a culvert
groundwater,
right
you have
here.
your hydrology to replicate, which is
Yeah.
good. We don't necessarily, I mean, we're trying to minimize stormwater from the road.
So what's your sequence? What are you gonna do first?
What we would like to do is start the replication as soon as we reasonably can,
Okay.
or the restoration. Restore it, get it back to where it should be, and in the meantime, we'll deal with the water problem from the roadway. But we've written up a restoration plan for the wetland,
Yep.
excavating the material out, making sure we've got a decent bed of sand and gravel, of topsoil and loam. This area I know was stripped.
Fill it in again. and then-
Yeah. When they put the septic system,
Interesting
they would have
island.
stripped part of this area, so there's not gonna
Yeah.
be any topsoil down there.
Yeah.
If this area was actually filled, there should be wetland soil underneath that anyhow. So that should be easy to take care of, just removing the offending material and seed and plant some shrubs. We're planting on shrubs all through here and the wetland seed mix.
And maybe some protection from road runoff, direct road runoff there.
I don't know how much the direct road runoff is contributing to this, but I do know with the water table there, we'll be able to replicate restore a wetland anyhow.
Well, it used to be there, so the hydrology should remain.
I mean, if we have to, we may, if the town will allow us, the highway department, we may have to put a berm on the front of our property just to protect us from the runoff that doesn't belong there.
Can I ask, on some of these comments under soils and soil amendments and things like that, are these boilerplate or are these specific to this site? When you talk about
Starts out
to
as
supplement-
boilerplate, but it is specific to this site, because I
Okay.
did soil probes here and I'm soil
I was just
scientist.
curious, under amendments to supplement organic materials, recommended that coarse woody debris, example logs, be scattered on the restoration area in between plantings to add structure and a long-term source of decaying organic to cover at least 5% of the area.
The reason for that is that a muck soil, a real hydric soil, wetland soil that we're used to, that's roughly 12% organic material. For comparison, a lawn is roughly 4% organic material, 3% organic material. There isn't really a heck of a lot of organics in regular topsoil. So where we don't have the original base of material, we would want to take composted leaves, mix that in with the soil,
Okay.
get as close as we can to that 12%.
Okay, thank you. Has everybody had a chance to look at the planting requirements on page 5? Thoughts?
We were late getting this in, so I can understand that completely. In fact, the plan was just revised again today. The surveyor made a 2-foot error, so he just gave us a new plan. I'm sure Amy hasn't had a chance to look at it either.
Yeah, I've only skimmed it. I mean, it looked, and I use the word boilerplate because it's a pretty straightforward restoration. It is specific to the property, but it's what you would expect. But yeah, I haven't had a chance to read it in detail.
I see you address invasive species. That was one of the things I was going to ask when you bring soil on site
Yep.
and make sure it's, not someone just shoveling out their
Yeah, like
knotweed
where-
patch.
Where did it come from?
Yeah.
Please, try to make sure you're not getting soil that has invasive species in it.
The timing of plantings, and then in terms of the management plan, how long are we gonna monitor this? 3 years? Does we know?
Yeah.
Okay. That's what I would suggest, at minimum.
Yep.
Just, you're gonna have a loss usually from your plantings. It averages like
So you just wanna see it
30%.
grow?
Yeah,
So
so,
it's like a sustainability of it, is that what it is?
well, so each year, you're gonna have some die off, and so we want to follow that path for at least a few years to make sure that when we're all said and done, that we've kind of supplemented as many as are needed.
I'm not going anywhere. Kind of a fixture down at Colonial Drive, so just saying,
That's
This works for
3
the
years is
landscaping
standard,
company.
so you're,
whatever it needs to be.
Dewatering?
Shouldn't be necessary here at all.
Okay.
We're not looking to make a pond here or anything. We're
Okay.
just looking to make sure that we're within 12 inches of
Okay.
the water table.
Okay.
It looks like your erosion control is planned to be just wattles. Do you think that's enough?
I do. I actually prefer those to hay bales or silt fence. Hay bales are graded A, B, and C. So they give the A to the horses, the B go to the cows, and the C goes to the contractors. The reason is the C has a lot more weeds and stuff in it, so I don't like using those at all. The 12-inch wattles can come in 10 or 15 or 20-foot lengths. They're much easier to install. Gravity works with them. You don't even have to stake them in, and they work really well.
Okay.
Do you have a sense, it's been a little while since I've looked at it, the stream itself has been, I was trying to remember if it's been, not ditched, but sort of stone lined? Will there still be a connection between the stream and, you know, or do you need to knock out some of those stones, or,
Yeah, we still have the stones there.
but the water will still be able to get into the, because you're expecting groundwater, not surface water?
I'm sorry?
You're expecting it to be fed by groundwater, not surface water, because the stream seems like it's going to be a little bit,
Yeah. We expect groundwater to be the main source of hydrology.
How much flow is there now, like today?
It's a steady trickle at this
Okay.
point, when it's raining, obviously, but like all the cattails are starting to, like, it's enough to keep the vegetation that's in the stream
Okay.
sufficient. Some days it's higher than others.
it's,
Does it dry out in the summer? No.
Just has that, it's just a small trickle.
Yep.
You know,
Yep.
depends on what happens down the road.
Sure, okay,
But usually it's a steady, small trickle.
great.
do you know how much fill you need to pull out?
I don't, I haven't
A foot or
estimated
two
that.
maybe, but. I was just wondering if the stone wall that's on the stream now is gonna be, you know, right now it's kind of a retaining wall, but once you pull the fill on the other side of it, it's gonna be a freestanding wall
Yeah.
from these pictures.
Well, the wall is poured concrete.
No, I'm sorry, the stone wall along the stream bed.
This
Yeah.
one?
Yeah, that's not deep or big or anything like that. Just freestanding, no concrete or anything in there.
Maybe spread the stones out?
Well, because right now it's a retaining wall.
Right.
But when you dig out the soil that's on the septic system side of things, it's gonna become a freestanding.
So we can spread them out.
Well,
That's,
so-
the only reason
yeah.
they were put is to stop.
Stabilize it.
Yeah, that's
Keep it
all.
in,
So
yeah.
it's easy enough. They're just placed, you know, like you used to divide the property. That's the look I went to keep it natural back there.
It's the stone wall?
No, it's the erosion control barrier. Oh, I'm sorry, yeah, the little pillows,
Mm.
yeah.
So Amy, we'll just continue this and wait for status?
Well, what do you want to do in terms of timing and the highway department? Would you expect them to move ahead and do this?
It's June right now, so
Yeah.
our preference would be to do the digging and get the plants in now.
Right.
We wait
Yeah.
another month, we'll be into July and August, and that's a tough time to grow plants. We'd probably have to wait until September before we
Great.
can plant
I'd rather get
again.
'em in now.
Yeah.
I think-
So you just might need some jute netting or something along the roadside?
Yeah.
Or maybe some wattles at the top of the road to direct,
Wattles
for-
alongside the
at least
road,
temporarily,
temporary
yeah,
measure.
all right.
So maybe when you're ready to break ground, just to let Amy know ahead of time.
Absolutely.
Now, it says at the end that, order of conditions may be extended if it has not been fully established within 2 growing seasons. I thought it was 3 for us.
It's, yeah, well, and this isn't gonna be an order of conditions on this.
310 CMR 1055, the Border and Vegetative Wetland Performance Standards require the monitoring for 2 years, and that's why we use the 2 years. If the commission wants the option of doing it for longer, then, you know, that's up to the commission.
I think we said.
Yeah, we always do
Yeah,
3.
we're at 3.
Well, we can see how it looks in 2 years. If it's doing great and we're not having a high mortality,
Right.
then it
Just
makes
keep-
sense to
Keep
stop.
records of how
Right.
many you've had to replace and where. Okay.
So once we do the actual, like, putting in the bushes and follow this plan, if they die, do I have to come back to you and
No.
say I need
No,
to
just
plant
keep-
them, or
just
I
keep-
just
just
keep
go
them-
ahead,
keep
just
going?
put
keep
more
tracks.
in.
Okay.
Yeah, and what you would probably need to do is by, I put this in a letter, something by November 1st, have a, you know, end of season report, and you can say how much mortality there must be, if you had to do any replacements, if you had to do any invasive species control. So, worst case, you'd have 3 years of those.
We called for that in the report.
Right, yeah,
We also would like to see the soils, the underlying soils, what it is
Exactly, yeah.
excavated out,
yeah.
so we can be sure that we are within 12 inches of the water table.
Right.
Okay, cool.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Right, thank you.
I'm just following his lead.
Yeah.
I still
No, that's-
don't know very much.
Yeah, no,
Whatever he wants to do, I'm
that's
doing.
how it's done.
You're in good hands.
Yes.
I am in good hands.
Can you give me at least a few days' notice before you start anything, so I can get out there?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Continued discussion, potential wetland violation, 5 Scott Road, somebody want to speak to that?
The pictures back before I forget,
Oh, I'm sorry?
the photos. Sorry.
Great.
How you guys doing?
Good.
How are you doing?
Look at that, 8:15.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing.
That's awesome.
You have no idea.
I'm telling you, it's been a crazy couple of weeks. Just as an aside, I'm the agent for the Lunenburg Conscom. We had our last meeting last week. We had a very unruly group come in. Had to call the police to throw them.
Really?
Wow, really unruly.
Wow.
Crazy.
Yeah, it was a lake association that decided that they didn't want to have an order of conditions anymore. They could just go out,
Oh.
you know, put the chemicals in.
Oh, wow.
Nah.
You know how that
Not really.
Those lake people.
That's crazy.
Thank
goes.
you.
You already have these. I just made an extra set. I hope I have enough.
Okay, we can share.
We can share signature.
The ones that we saw at the last meeting, or are these different?
No, these are basically the ones you saw at the last meeting. I tended to like the quality of these because it shows, you know, pre-alteration and post really well. Also, as I outlined in my narrative to you guys, oops, I'm sorry, I gave you 2 posts.
The dates on the bottom there, I think.
Thanks, sir.
One more red over here.
2 more.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Flooding. That part. The pre is 2013-14?
Yeah, I used the 2013-14 because it shows everything very well, and it looks like it was prior to any activity on site that we're now looking at. You can see on the 2014, you can see the roadway going in now. I mean, this is 2018.
So just within the last 4, 5 years, that road was put in. Wow. And is this, maybe you're gonna, am I jumping the gun and doing that?
No, go ahead.
This area here, is that water or is that just shade from the tree?
That's just shade.
I was wondering that too.
It's hard to tell.
It is hard to tell.
Really
It looks like water to me.
difficult.
Yeah, no, it is hard to tell, but I mean, you can see other areas around it that are also shaded that have that same hue that are definitely not within the wetland boundary. See, like, for example, over here, there's shaded areas over here that are very similar. It's from trees. So,
So there may not be
The leaves are
filling
off the trees.
necessarily going on,
Except
but
for
there's the road
conifers.
construction.
well, that's what I'm in the middle of, well, there was road construction, there's nothing going on there now, and essentially what I've given you is an outline of how I am essentially approaching my evaluation on this. So what I am doing right now is I am going out and doing my own hand digging to determine what is on there for fill. I'm gonna come up with a volume calculation. What I've done so far is I have been out there, but I haven't had time to finish. I've got 4 like these that I'm in the middle of working on right now, so it's a time factor for me partially. It's just a lot to get done since the 2 weeks that I've been here. I've just basically been brought aboard this spring. So I did analyze the state's GIS database. Didn't see any floodplain subject on the property with alterations have been taken. So I don't see any compensatory storage that would be needed. There's no rare species habitats on the property. There was no certified vernal pools. The state's database doesn't show potential vernal pools out on the property. There's no ACECs present. So any of those overlays is really good. So in my narrative, what I plan to do is, once that is done, I will come back in with an actual map along with the volume calculation showing where the fill is, what the depth is, what needs to be removed, what I think is not wetlands. So I have to have the commission come out to look at the site to, verify basically what I feel is the wetland delineation. So that would require, obviously, an on-site meeting. On page 2 of my narrative, I took the New England wetland plants mix for detention basins and moist sites. I'm going to actually use this on some of the upland areas that have, it has some flow on it from just natural elevation-wise, but I'm not going to have any water retained. The area where there's wetlands, I will come back with the typical New England wetland plant mix, along with the chart that would show the different types of wetland plants that would be on here. It would be their typical mix. It would be a field mix. What I don't see, and what I don't see any evidence of, is a massive amount of tree canopy that's been removed. So essentially, I would come back to you probably for your first July meeting with an entire narrative showing the exact amounts out there, what needs to be removed, the nature of whatever alteration is out there, and the plant scheduling for remediation. Now, once the restoration area is approved, I heard your conversation with Mr. Erickson about the monitoring. My initial monitoring goes into 2 growing seasons. Obviously, I'll amend that with a final report to go into 3 growing seasons. The first phase, I usually do biweekly inspections. In other words, twice a week I go in. I make sure everything is starting to grow. Whatever isn't growing during the phase of the inspections would be reseeded automatically. That would happen to the full growing season, like for the first year. The second year, you would wind up having, I usually do twice a year monitoring once it's going in, but I can adjust that so that it would still maintain monthly inspections for the first year once the seed mix is established.
So when do you think we would be looking at actually getting to planting?
Probably September.
Okay. We'd really have to get it done in September because of.
Well, the thing is that you've got a lot of work that's got to go on that site.
Right, but we're not gonna wait till next spring to get it planted.
No, like I said, I can have this for you in July, for your first meeting in July, and once it's, we come to an agreement, I can just have them go in, do the digging, do the planting.
So what's your thought on, recognizing that the need was fill, and so fill was placed, you're gonna pull back the fill, and, are you planning to, any soil amendments? Do you think those would be necessary? Okay, but I'm asking because we haven't heard about any, so
Right.
I'm just wondering if you could.
Well, he doesn't know what. it's
Right,
filled
no.
with
No, I
first,
understand
but
that.
yeah,
So,
I think
like,
you're going
once-
to-
My
Once you
take
pull
on
the
this
fill
is
back.
that the fill would have to be pulled back to the original grade. And yeah, you'd probably have to have some augmented soil go in.
Okay.
I honestly don't think it'll be very much. It looks more like a fill. You pull it back, the wetlands underneath. You do the planting. The planting in this area, because of the moist nature of the fact that it's right next to this pond, it should take pretty rapidly.
Also, it seems like, excuse me, most of the tree removal is right in front of the house, where the road just crossed in front of the house, and down the bank.
That's correct.
Um,
If there was any tree removals in the buffer zone, there wasn't any trees in the wetland. It was just it's too moist down there for them.
But do you have tree planting here at all? Like maybe the bank needs some trees.
I mean, I could put trees into the bank.
That bank, that was a solid planting schedule. I don't recall the family, the couple's name, but that was well done.
I mean, my initial thought on the bank, because it's very steep, was to armor it, basically. I wasn't convinced that like jute matting or planting
Oh,
would stick
yeah.
because of the steep nature of that slope.
Yep.
Right.
I can reevaluate that, that's not a
Yeah.
problem.
That was nice.
Armoring, you mean like a
It's,
wall?
No, rock, trap rock, the big stuff. You don't want to put a wall there.
No. you don't want to put- But I mean, they're large trees that the soil has sloughed off on.
Mhm.
All that needs to be pulled back so that those trees survive, and then I would think I don't know about, I'm not thrilled about.
I can reevaluate it. What I'm trying to do is in order to, and I'm sorry to interrupt your train of thought, it's just, this pops into my head. It's, the problem I have with the slope is that I'm worried that I don't want to see too much work in this remediation as far as heavy equipment. This is obviously a very sensitive area. He's obviously going to have to go in to pull stuff out. I mean, maybe we can use some of that soil to do remedial work on the side. But you start putting walls in there, it's counterproductive to what your goals are, number one, and
No, I'm
number
not
two.
encouraging a wall, definitely, but I just wanted a more naturalized replacement than rock.
Okay,
I think
I
you are
can,
gonna have to use fairly heavy equipment, because there's probably heavy equipment to put it in there. But you'll know better once you see what the soils are and your volume.
well, it looks, I mean, yeah, but it looks to me like most of the heavy equipment work was done to create this section of the road along that slope more than it was down here. I'd be surprised if I dug in there and, I'm not seeing like 5 feet of fill in the places I've dug, I'm not seeing like heavy amounts of the stuff.
How much fill are you seeing in the places you've dug?
Right now, I'm seeing up to 2 feet right now.
Now, are you planning to maintain some sort of path to the dock? Because I can imagine they'd want some access to the dock.
Yeah, I haven't made a decision on that myself yet, and speaking with my client, what I'm trying to do is come up with a creative way to maintain that wetland and give him access at the same time.
All right.
What's going on right now for erosion control on the site?
There are wattles that you guys ordered there, they're still there, they're in good condition. I'll keep an eye on those. If you like, I can give you,
Have you submitted any photographs to Amy?
of the wattles? No, but I can do that in the morning. That's not a problem.
And Peter had sent over some. He did that last fall.
What I can do, if you like, in the
look like
meantime,
now?
while we're doing all this, is I can do like a monthly report on the site saying, hey, the wattles are still in good shape. I don't see the need to add any more, and you can have monitoring that way.
Right, you can do monthly, however, there's incident reporting as well based on rain flow. So if all of a sudden we have a big storm of, what number are we using, over an inch or something
Yeah,
within 3 days? We can send you what the language would
I'll
be.
take yesterday.
Then you would have to submit a report, so.
Okay.
If we have big storms.
Well, I do solar companies. I usually get hired as their third-party erosion control barrier inspector. So I have the SWIP form for,
Basically, yeah.
I can use the SWIP form
Yep.
during every storm.
Is there a Chapter 91 permit for the dock?
I don't know, is that considered a great pond?
It is.
It is? Then I'll have to check. I'll have to check with the Chapter 91 people.
And I don't know, is that dock a movable dock? Like,
Yes, it
it's
is.
It's put out at the point there and then pulled back in?
It can be pulled back in, so it may not need a 91 permit, but I'm gonna have to confirm that with Chapter 91. Normally, under Chapter 91, if you have a temporary dock, even a long one, if you can pull it out at the end of the season, you don't need a permit. But again, I'll send the Chapter 91 people this photograph and say, hey, this is removable, but does it need a... That's easy enough.
It's a consideration.
That's an excellent question. I've been so busy burying my head in the sand, pardon the turn of phrase, that I didn't even think of the 91. I appreciate it. That's a good thought. Thank you.
I think unburying, going back to unburying the trees, I'm not sure we got to a resolution point on that, but the trees do need to be unburied, even if it means heavy equipment needs to, we don't want to lose more trees.
So I'm wondering, are there some things that need to be done now while he's doing the soil discovery piece in order for the health of those trees to
I
go?
would
Yeah.
think so, yeah.
So you would have
Yeah, if
to
they've been
allow
buried
him
for a year.
to do
Tell you what,
that.
this week I'll go over the trees with my client,
Okay.
and I'll file a status report on those with Amy that she can distribute to you guys.
I'd be very nervous about working on that slope. That's a steep slope,
Mhm.
and I'm not
But
sure
you
how
could at least-
stable it is.
And hand dig
But the
around the trees.
road is right next to where it's sloughed off, so maybe you could, the excavator.
On the same token, maybe you better. not
Bobcat.
cut the wall.
I don't think they're gonna die, though.
You would want to use hand excavation. If you get an
Yeah.
excavator in there, they're going to come up with roots, and then you're going to lose the
Yeah.
tree. And they're not
It's
going to
almost
know
like-
the depth.
And it's
No,
really the only way.
Long term, was it more than one tree, or was it just that one main? I can't remember now. Might
I know there was this
almost be
one tree that was pointed out to me.
Almost a tree well, like a retaining wall around the tree, once it gets excavated, so the slope doesn't just keep.
But at least if you hand excavated something now, you're giving an opportunity for it to breathe.
Yeah,
I can talk to an arborist too, have him come out on site
I
and look
think
at it.
that's a really good idea.
Yeah.
But if that can be done, that would be advisable. So what are we doing time-wise? So we meet again on June 17th and July 8th. Are there actions that you wish to have done prior to the June 17th, such as the tree? You stated that you'd have it ready for the July meeting, but we have to make sure that it's being monitored.
Well, I mean, I'll submit monitoring reports, and I'll go out on the rains, and I can come in on the, what is it, June 17th, you said? I can come in on the 17th and give you guys a status update if you like.
Would you want to hear from the arborist at
Sure.
that,
Sure.
before that point? You probably get someone out there.
I can get someone out there pretty
But
quickly.
I don't want to, if the arborist says this should be done, I don't want to have to wait. I'm not asking you to wait to accommodate our meeting schedule. I would like
Yeah.
for them, with your guidance, Amy,
Yeah.
to go ahead and do it, whether it's
That's fine.
Yeah.
digging or around it or something.
So if you want, maybe, if you get an arborist out there to look at it, you guys can go meet, and I'll come in half an hour later, so you can have your strategy session. And then I can come in and we can figure out what's gonna, look, if you can get someone lined up, let's just do it all
Okay.
at once while they're there.
Good.
Okay, I mean, the goal obviously is, for my client, is to have access to the water, and the goal of all of us here is to make sure that the wetlands are protected at the same time, so.
Alrighty, thank you for coming in, thank you for your work.
No, thank you guys for everything.
Okay.
I'll check on that Chapter 91 issue in the morning.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, James, other administrative?
Perfect, yeah. You guys let me know. Oh, I don't know. He has been out, so I'm sure you know.
What about the community
the season.
preservation representative?
So I've been the representative for the last 6 years. I just wanted to see if anybody else is interested in serving.
Andrew, I
So-
love that you do it, though.
Yeah, I can still do it if you want. I mean, I was just going to put it out there just to see if anybody was interested. So it's been 6 years.
Somebody want to make a motion that Andrew be?
For life.
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
That's life.
Would you know offhand how much open space set aside? Does like 373,000 sound right?
That sounds right.
Give
I'd
or
have to
take.
check for you, though.
It's not like $3, but it's.
Oh, no,
it's-
no, no,
Yeah,
no.
okay.
Not scary.
Any other updates, administrative action that you want to discuss?
The only other one I have is that, especially with a parking lot at Cloverdale perhaps coming on, and we can discuss it at the next meeting more thoroughly, is, remember the swing sign that Rick Finley did over at Newtown Hill? It's just a little post with an
Oh,
arm
yeah.
with
Oh,
a swing
yeah, that's
sign.
nice.
We talked about having a chain at the bottom with any, community
Oh,
garden
right.
or topic common. I was thinking it might be worth moving ahead and order a bunch of those and maybe get a kiosk done. So,
Actually, they could put it in where they're doing it, right?
well, that's exactly what I was thinking.
Any Boy Scout projects?
The swing signs, the metal piece of it is, to get 8 is $1,000. And it's, to get, because that would use up a whole sheet, so otherwise it's just wasted space. So if we can come up with 8 that we'd like, that would be $1,000. If you get, a lot more, it's a little bit cheaper. And then Chris Mountain said the kiosk, a little over $500, and he's still willing to do that. So let me work out these quotes a little closer, and you might want to think about if there's any properties that could use something. It's hard to see from the road, because the kiosks are buried, so it might be worth putting a sign up near the front.
How about the entrance to Long Lake Park?
Which one? The one down
The
on?
one on is it Meadowbrook?
There's one on Queen Road, one on
The
Colonial. Queen Road?
Queen Road entrance.
We do have a nice signboard there. I don't know if a kiosk would make too much sense though, because they do a lot of plowing at that entrance.
Oh, that one, yeah.
Do we make farming community signs for the
Probably
entrance to
make it-
town?
Oh, that's the agriculture
No, we can't do that.
issue. What was I going to ask about the agriculture? Oh, because I sent you that email
Oh, yes.
about the
Up at
mowing
the,
at Cooper.
Cooper, yeah. I don't know. I mean, is Danny haying that
You mean those
field?
front properties against
You mean the stuff that's
120?
got a bunch of brick test holes done in it and rutted up?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know they were doing that.
If it hasn't been smoothed out, nobody's gonna wanna go in there.
Where's this?
Really?
And between the road and the septic system, I assume you're talking about, and the other side.
No, over at Cooper, the back field, which Danny has already fertilized, so he's aware of it, he will be.
Where they had all the water, where they were doing the
Where they're
watering.
They're putting the hay up.
Pounding.
So someone has wandered out there with a lawnmower and mowed basically trail around the outer perimeter. Like, well, yay.
So,
But
field-
it's not
One up
Conscom
top.
property.
Yeah.
I don't know if Danny's gonna have a fit, or not, or if he could care less. So, and the fields are willing to go in with a brush hog and cut out the brush between basically the field and the stone wall, which I also think is a fantastic idea. So I told him, yay. So,
So,
Is that field property or town property, the field out back you're talking about?
the field out back is town property.
selectmen controlled.
Selectmen, yeah.
So that's another.
So I had sent an
moved
email.
on, though, the same as the Church Meadows, as to who takes care of it.
Well, see,
Yeah.
Church Meadows, I don't know if we technically own the property or if it's selectmen. I've got to look at some of the past town meeting warrants,
It
but
looks
I,
better that some of the stuff is gone.
yeah. But,
it's- I guess they're working on the CR, from what I understand.
yeah, the CR, there's a draft CR that's been circulated. Town council's had a look at it, and it's pretty close to being done. But yeah, it would be good if we had some clarification as to who actually holds the land. Because my recollection was that it went to the Conscom, but
That was, as I understood it, was conservation land, agricultural use.
that's what I thought
Yeah.
too.
But
It is, but
Whole lot of
I thought the selectmen
things
had.
going on there.
I'll double check, I'll look up the property card and see what it says.
But
A lot of times
Some
when I
of
say
this-
something, held by the town cone or conservation commission, I don't know what it says on there.
I don't know. I'll have to.
Yeah.
it's,
Okay.
there's been a lot of stuff that gets shuffled around, but it ends up being town, not necessarily dedicated conservation to some extent, I think has happened.
Like Nagog Hill Road,
So,
which I'm not sure if y'all, that is, the brush hogging is happening out there for the invasive species control. The parcel abuts the reservoir. For at least 4 hours, and then the equipment broke down, so they'll be back in a week or two. And Anthony had a good idea of trying to get the water department drone out there to get a before and after picture.
Oh wow, we have a water
Oh, that's
department
cool.
drone.
Yeah, oh,
yes.
yes. Yeah, I wanted
Wow.
access to that thing.
Mostly it takes pictures of athletic fields.
How big is it?
I have no idea.
Can
Yeah.
take videos and
Yeah, it's,
and pictures.
yeah, yeah, so.
I believe the Agricultural Commission's working on trying to figure out how to lease that church metal side, from what I understand.
Once the CR is in place, we'll have a better idea as to like what's allowable, what isn't to put into the RFP and the lease, so we'll
Yeah.
see.
Does Danny have formal agreements, like with Newtown Hill?
Yes.
The hanging out there with through the selectmen?
Through
No,
us.
it's
Oh,
for
really?
us.
through us.
That, this,
I've never seen anything, so is that just like in perpetuity?
no,
It was
no,
long
for
though.
5 years.
I had seen something in the office
Okay.
way back when I
Yeah.
was covering for,
So it might be coming up on 5 years.
yeah,
What else? There's some other property.
Long Lake Park, I think. Oh, wait, no, the highway department was that.
Yeah.
Oh, do they up on the top?
I think
Yeah.
a Yap property, I'm not sure what the situation.
Oh, yeah, he does Yap
You're
as
right,
well.
right.
Neat. So,
Now, Rachel, sorry to change the subject, but when does your term end?
End of June, 30th.
30th, and that's your last.
So I guess
You
the,
decided not to continue.
yeah.
One more meeting.
So your last meeting is the next meeting?
You're on historical commission too, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I just, this is great, but I'm clearly not like a very talkative member, so I feel like I'm holding the line, but I'm,
We're gonna have a last meeting send-off? Is that what you guys normally do?
Ice
Yeah.
cream
Oh, we can do
cake.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're bringing an ice cream?
Yeah, we have
Awesome.
to
No,
now.
she has to bring it around.
like, all right.
Well, it'll be a big send-off because 225 Taylor will be back,
Oh.
theoretically.
Goodness.
We'll see if I show
Oh, speaking of that, have we received any other applications?
Not that I know of, although Diane was on vacation the end of last week.
Oh.
Yeah,
And I didn't see her today.
Good night.
Is there a limit of how many people can be in?
if there's no
Minimum?
further business, I'm
It-
assuming
yeah,
I'd like
there's-
to adjourn this meeting. Somebody want to-
So moved.
Second it?
All those in favor?
Aye.
I think the quorum.